Hey guys, today for the Total BS show, I was incredibly fortunate. I got to talk to Alieda Lindal, who is a mindset business coach. Now, when you say coaches in your world, they can run the gamut. There's the local accountability coaches, the weight loss coaches that you have in your local community, and then there's business coaches. And what was really cool about talking to Aileda is that she's worked with many major corporations in her career. She's not the local person that you see. So it was a really good insight to kind of see how she started her business, how she got to where she is, and what she's doing now in the local community and in the national spectrum to kind of really grow her brand and her business. So I hope you guys really do enjoy this episode of the Total BS show, and let's rock it. Talk to you later.
My name's Aileda, and I'm a business coach and a consultant. I've helped many like you break through your challenges and reach beyond your limitations. This is my purpose, my passion, and my pursuit in life. There are unforeseen obstacles or mental roadblocks that are limiting your potential. Imagine what your success would look like if you could take these head on and finally overcome your challenges. Plan it, drive it, and do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Total BS show. So the Total BS show is geared around small business owners. What did they and their journey? What did they learn along the way? What have they done? What have they failed at? And what have they done to be successful? So it's really about the journey of being a small business owner. This week I am very excited because we have Aileda who is a fantastic and national branded coach, business development coach. This is what she does. She helps bring small businesses up and helps large companies improve their company overall in totality. So I'm very excited to bring her in and learn about her journey from getting started from working with national companies to then pivoting over to not only working with major companies, but small business owners as well. So can you give us a little bit of your story and your background?
Yeah, thanks for that introduction too. I'm excited. I myself, obviously, I'm a small independent business owner. So, you have that aspect of things thrown into the equation. I am that person. But then I work with, like you said, very large corporations, and I get to work with very large teams and work at that level as well. And so I understand kind of all of these stages of growth, small, mid-size, and then also large, very large entities. And so, yeah, I mean, who's better than me? It's a ton of fun. It's a very broad spectrum. And that's it in a nutshell.
So give us a little bit of a story of who are some of your major corporations that you've worked with?
That's a tough one. And here's the reason why I say that. I have it on my LinkedIn, but I feel like it's almost like name dropping too. And I don't believe in that per se, but like US Bank was a very large corporation that I had the opportunity to end. That was so fun project for me. And it was fun because it was like a several month project. It was about a 7-month project. As a consultant, or a coach, right? You always get called in the 9th inning when things are down. So it's kind of like you have nowhere to go but up, as long as you play your cards right? But I love the challenge. So for me, I thrive on that. I'm a personality type of game on, let me get in here, let me see what's going on, and let me help you change it, right? So for me, that one in particular, because that was the first time that any region, I was assigned a region to help them with, had ever hit optimum performance, meaning every single location throughout that entire region hit 100% to plan and everything it was that they had to focus on. And so that was, it's things like that when you're on a bigger project that you get to do things on more of a massive level, which is super fun because you get to see it in the numbers, right? And it's like, you're playing against yourself kind of, along with cultivating and needing to cultivate a team and a synergy amongst a team, and like a beating of a heart, right? Or a mission statement of what everybody is going for and why you're doing it. What's your why? Like, what are you shooting for?
So what really inspired this business idea?
Oh, goodness. First and foremost was kind of my need to be an independent business owner because I needed a shift in schedule. I was a single mom when I very first started my first, whole consulting, stepping into the consulting world and going out on my own. I was a single mom and I had to have the challenge of I had to have a flexible schedule. And so it was stepping out on a limb. It was at a very pivotal time, but it was also just like that leap of faith and Geronimo. And it's kind of probably the same equivalent to what business owners somewhat feel like now that have stepped out into the business world. And then all of a sudden, whoa, COVID, right? So for me at the time, it was I stepped out into the business world and whoa, all of a sudden it was like a recession, right? It was 2007, 2008. And so it was like, oh, holy smokes, that just happened. And so then you're committed, like you're all in at that point. So it's sink or swim, right? So you swim, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And the great thing is that when you do that, it really does work. It really does work. You just can't lose your focus on what your end goal and your commitment is. But if you're not committed and you kind of half-assed it, you stepped into your business like, oh, I'm going to be a business owner. And you were just like, I'm just, going to try this out for a minute, and you weren't fully committed, then yeah, it might be a game changer tilt for you, hardcore, because now you have no choice. Like, am I committed or yikes, what's happening, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, when people go to your website and all that type of stuff, and they research you, which they most likely will during the show or after the show, they'll say you've worked with U.S. Bank, like you said before, Harley Davidson, Ace Hardware,
Yeah.
Bath and Body Works, like major corporations. Like you are, so you're not just the coach on the street in your local community that's
No.
like, hey, I can help you with XYZ. Like you are someone that people pay money to
Yeah.
go talk to. Like to go get your world. I mean,
Thank heavens, yay, yes.
there's a different level that you're at compared to other people. So the question I have for you is, did anything prevent you from getting started, or did you just really dive right in?
I dove. And I was, like I said, all in. I was all in. And I was probably already knee deep in developing my business for probably, I want to say 3 months-ish, when kind of like, whoa, recession. And so literally like fetal stages of startup, right? But yeah, when you're all in, you're all in. That's when it's sink or swim. Like that's when your mindset really comes into play. What are you focused on? What are you committed to? How are you going to make it happen? What are the next steps? How do you overcome the challenges? Okay, now I have this challenge. Okay, now I have this challenge. It depends on how you look at those challenges. A lot of people will say, I'm stressed. It's a stressor. I'm so stressed. Or, oh, like this happened again. Or here we go. Like now I have this other thing that's going to stop me. And if that's your mindset, then you're going to be your own worst enemy. If it's a challenge, that's an entirely different word. That's an entirely different playing field. Now, game on, because I'm going to tear this field up, right? And so you just, yeah, I mean, it was just like any other business owner. You're in the trenches. You are wearing every single hat every single day, but you have to have self-discipline. I would say that's something about working remote, is that if you're going to put yourself into, like most small business owners in fetal stages or in remote situations where you're starting out remote, and thank God, because now everybody, a good chunk of everybody's had to learn how to function remote. And so, yeah, I could just go on and on and on.
So, I mean, your mission is to motivate, inspire, and lead the masses to overcome their challenges and obstacles. I mean, you say that right on your website.
Yeah.
But that it's kind of vague in some aspects, because a lot of people can say they're business coaches out there, right? What problems does your business actually solve or have solved?
Exactly that. Obstacles or challenges. So again, a coach or a consultant doesn't get called in unless you're in the ninth inning and something's really wrong. Nobody likes to ask for opinions. Nobody likes to ask for suggestions when everything is humming along perfectly. Who's going to ask for any opinion, support, outside person? They're not going to, right? Everything is fine. So again, you're coming in those like cataclysmic almost sometimes cases within an organization. And so for me, again, it's all about teaching the mindset when you go in of challenge, how to overcome the challenge. Again, that is it. That is the defining thing, really.
So, I mean, when you think about way back when in 2007, 2008, when you first started, was there anyone out there that kind of opened the door for you, or did you have to basically kick the frickin' door down?
I had to kick the freaking door down, but there were things that happened while I was kicking the freaking door down that completely motivated me, right? Those are what I refer to as like defining moments, pivotal moments for anybody. And so kicking the door down for me in one aspect was reaching out. I remember I saw an author, right? I was reading Forbes and front page, he was on the front page cover. And he was a business coach and he was a consultant. This is way back like 2004. So 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. So I'm dating myself, but whatever. So way back in those times of again, I was standing in another place of business in this moment, getting ready to launch mine. Like I had set everything up, all my marketing was ready, everything, like I had everything ready to launch. And this guy is on the front cover of Forbes and he's the top paid business consultant in the world. And there's this write-up of this article about him, and everything he says in this article, I'm like, I agree with that 1000%. Like that is so me, right? So I just start researching. I'm a researcher. I started digging. Like I wanted to connect with this person. I was like, I'm going to have a conversation with this person. And so on my lunch breaks at the business, I was like calling, trying to figure out how can I get linked? How can I get connected? How can I get on the phone with this person? And I did. He picked up on like my first call. And I said, I am like in a state of shock right now. I'm like, I have to tell you who I am, just a total stranger. I'm about ready to start a business. I'm going to be doing exactly what you're doing. And I just read your article and I'm like, it's outstanding. It's outstanding what you do. Bravo, good for you. I'm super excited to talk to you and just connect. And he kind of chuckled a little bit, and it was an interesting question he asked me, which kind of leads me into another topic. But he asked me, he said, "How old are you?" And I told him my age at the time, and he said, "When you get older, people will start to take you more seriously." He said, "But that is a real shame because I can tell from talking to you that you have the knowledge and the background at that time." And that was because of my work experience, right? And my background. But he also, like, that was a defining moment because he stayed in touch. Like, he continued to stay in touch with me. He sent me his books when he wrote them after that, and sent me Christmas cards. So, I mean, motivational and inspiring beyond belief, that pivotal moment. And it's things like that. It's those things that keep you inspired going along.
I think if I really had to unpack what you said there, it's there's two things. One, I'm a relatively young dude. I'm 35. I started my company at 30. I used to work for a big company, and then I said, you know what, I got tired of my round peg trying to fit in their square hole, and I needed to jump off and do my own thing. I had to do it. Yep. And you're exactly right. Young people who start businesses, for the most part, they have to turn heads at some point. They have to change. What you are doing is you're entering a market, and you have to be somebody that changes someone's mind about the ways that they're currently doing. We call it disturbing complacency.
Okay.
And so people are like lemmings. They're used to going this one way, and as soon as something hits them, now they're shaken. You've disturbed their complacency, and now you're able to talk to them and share it. there's two things that happen with that. You're going to find people that love your brand crazy and love your brand and what you're doing. And then you're going to have the detractors of people who are like, I'm used to this establishment. This establishment has helped me well. This little kid needs to go sit in the corner and wait their time to become successful. But what you did is you proved that if you just keep kicking the door down, you're going to find people that, one, love your brand of crazy, and two, are going to be like, wow, you actually hustled to get in touch with someone that is at kind of, let's just say, at a higher level than you are at, right? And that person is either going to shut you down, but more often than not, if that person realizes all the work that you did to try and get to having at least the conversation, they're going to help bring you up.
Yep.
I think most small business owners are worried about that. They're worried about showing vulnerability. They're worried about showing the fact of, I'm not there yet. So do I feel like I have the clout to then go to somebody? I think you would tend to agree with this. I challenge anyone's perception of themselves to say you have nothing to lose by going to a Tony Robbins, an Alieda, anyone. To say, hey, can I get a minute of your time? They can say no, but what if they say yes?
Yeah. And it's literally, and the biggest thing is follow your intuition with things like that. Like intuitively, if you're drawn to reach out or make a connection, or, I mean, you're absolutely correct. Like, don't underestimate your own knowledge or your own, who you are as a person, right? And what you have to offer the world, period. And this is also kind of like, I feel like spilling over, and this is where you and I discussed just briefly a couple weeks ago. I always said personal spills into professional. And there's no escaping that. And so there's an element of, what causes you fear or angst or like I really want to do this, but can I or should I? That same thing is in your personal life as it is in your professional life, 9 times out of 10. And so it's like, yeah, like go for it. Why would you not go for it? Go for it all day long. Go for it. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I feel like one of the hard parts for a small business owner is really trying to figure out the day-to-day peaks and valleys, right? And sometimes being a business owner is really hard. You're not getting the sales that you'd like. You're not getting the clout. You're not building the reputation as fast as you want, because in our minds, we live in a microwave society. Like, if we had to parallel the kicking the doors down, how do you also deal with the hard things about being a business owner and getting through those bad days?
So again, you're talking to a mindset coach. So for me, I don't have, it wouldn't be a bad day. For me, I would identify it as a day that I need to check myself and I need to balance myself. So one of the things that I teach on kind of like more the personal or individual side of the coaching is, you have a pyramid. Everybody has like they say mind, body, spirit. You hear that all the time. I tell people, nope, that's wrong. It goes spirit, mind, body. And that's how it goes. It shouldn't be mind, body, spirit. It's in the wrong direction. Spirit, then mind, then body. That's balance. That's balance. Those 3 key things, I have put it into practice myself in my life, and I know that to be true. And so, if I'm having an off day or something doesn't feel right, or I'm starting to feel angst, or I'm starting to feel whatever, right? Fear, anxiety, nervousness, whatever word you guys want to label and slap on something negative, or like an energy that just doesn't feel good, right? And that starts to happen, then that's an indicator you need to balance. Okay, what area of my life am I out of balance in? Do I need to get out and do I need to get physical? Have I not been physical lately? Is my body screaming at me like, stop what you're doing and just go out and take a jaunt run on the beach or whatever, or, get moving, period. Get your circulation going. That's the mind piece. You've got the mind will tell the body what to do. So you've got physical, then you've got, I'm sorry, that was the physical piece. Then you've got the mind. The mind will your body will do whatever your mind tells it. That's a proven scientific fact. So how important is that to keep your mind in check and to make sure that you are moving in the right direction? Like you're either primarily thinking negative or you're thinking positive. Which one is going to get you further faster? There is no doubt. I have put it to the test in my own life, period. And then you've got the spiritual piece, and the spiritual piece is whatever that means to you. And that's truly how I feel about it, in the aspect of whatever is like, is there something that you view bigger and larger than you? Or do we all have some sort of a realization and a wake up with COVID, like, whoa, there's shit that's maybe bigger than us, and holy crap, that just happened. Whatever it is for you, however you brand it, however you title it, that aspect, and staying connected and knowing that there is a like powerhouse of something out there that's in existence, that we don't control anything as much as we think we do, and just kind of like knowing that and surrendering to that is very empowering beyond measure and what people could possibly fathom if they put it into play. And so I always say your mind can run itself. That's the subconscious, right? That's scientific fact as well. It'll run itself. It's happy to totally take over the pilot seat for you, but that's your old programming. That's everything that's an experience in your life. It's everything you've lived through. It's your upbringing. It's, all of that in one box of chocolates. And so when you have that much stuff going on, if you let the subconscious take over, it's going to run old programming, because that's super, super easy, efficient. It's like putting the airplane on autopilot. But do you really want the airplane on autopilot for the entire trip? Probably not. Probably not. So yeah.
I think one of the things that you said, I'm going to circle back to, was the running into the brick wall. Like, I'm the type of person that would do the same thing that you did. Like, if I want to reach out to someone, I'm just going to reach out to them. I'm not going to worry about what if they say no, all that type of stuff, right? And sometimes I have the bad days of someone says no, right? But more often than not, my mind, and this may just be me, I don't know if you've worked with hundreds and thousands of people, so it's you probably give me more of a 30,000 foot view of this, but my mind is very black and white. I don't have a gray area in my mindset. I'm very tunnel visioned. I'm very focused on what I want to do, what I want to hit, my goal I have to have. It's you're either part of my goal or you're a part of my other sphere that I don't have to worry about, but I'm here.
Yep.
And I feel like, when you deal with business owners, do you have more often than not the successful ones that have the tunnel vision, or are they ping ponging all the way around? Like, what makes the mindset, and I'm talking to a mindset coach here. So what makes that mindset be very successful for any small business owner to really latch onto and to propel their business forward?
So it does take the person who's ping-pongy, for one, the person who's ping-pongy or is working on multiple things, or is maybe growing multiple things at the same time or whatever, and it can kind of really ground you. All of a sudden, it's like you are in a place where this makes a lot of sense, and you do have to have at least enough time to really apply a good amount of focus and attention to whatever it is that you're going after. Doesn't matter what it is. And so if you are spreading yourself too thin, per se, and so you got all this stuff going on, really having somebody sit down and explain that to you and really put it in black and white for you to help get rid of the gray, and the shades of gray really helps a lot, to have somebody anchor you, right? And then start, for lack of a better term, give you a protocol to follow. If you really want to be successful, then here, let me help you. Here's areas that if you do these action steps and you continue to do these action steps over the next 2 weeks, when we touch base back again, there's going to be dramatic improvement, right? And so there's that. But then there's somebody like you, okay, like I have laser-like focus, but we're still talking about mindset. So again, it's about perception. So for me, my word choice is usually pretty on point because I've been training my brain for years. Training my brain literally for years on new programming. F that old hardwiring, I'm on to something new, right? And so for me, that perspective and perception, and this will hold true for anybody on the face of the planet, perception is going to be everything for you. So is it going to be hard? Is it going to be challenging? or is it going to be awesome? And is it going to, do you already see it happening and you're so sure of it that it is, you know it's happening. There's no question in your mind.
It's that manifest destiny, or how it manifests destiny.
Or whatever, yeah, whatever you want to call it. It's vision. It's visionary tunnel focus is what it is.
I feel like opposites attract in personal life and in business life. Like I think that, like, for anyone that knows me knows I'm very black and white, right? And I just go for it. Anyone that knows my wife, it's like she's more of the, I think of everything. I just fly by the seat of my pants. I'll hit the wall and then I'll worry about what happens later. But I think in business, you kind of need kind of the same thing too, right? You need the person that's just like, let's go, 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 go. And you also need somebody in your business to be like, all right, while you're going, let me handle this part. Or
let's
if you're
the pieces and the details, and let's implement the details, and wait, what about this? Right. And
right.
You're just like the driver, the whatever, right? The engine on the train, and you're just like shooting full speed ahead. And yes, I think it's like hugely an asset if you're not solo in the situation and you have a business partner or somebody that you're partnered up with that can help in that aspect and can be that, I'll put the fine details in place, because that's what anchors it and puts all of your force into some sort of a structure.
But I feel like someone that is if they're a one-man band, if they're really legitimately a solo entrepreneur, they're either the ping pong or they're either the laser focus. And at some point you hit a ceiling of what that will do for you, right? And that's when they come in the ninth inning and they bring Alieda in and be like, hey, this is, if you're the laser focus, you need the person that is the ping pong. If you're the ping pong person, you bring a coach in that's more of the laser focus. At some point, you're gonna need that service, either hired or coached to get you where you need to go. Do you find that to be true?
Yes, absolutely. It's just, it's taking people to the understanding of the limitations essentially that you've placed upon yourself really don't exist. A coach will push you through to the understanding of that limitation really doesn't exist for me anymore.
So I'm going to ask you a harder question. And you're probably going to give a really politically nice answer to this, but
Not
like,
necessarily.
there's some coaches and then there's coaches, right? I think in any community, you can throw a stone and say, I can teach you how to lose weight. I can teach you how to do this. I can be a coach. They have no training. They have no anything. They're just like, I'm just going to be a life coach now. And then there's people like you who have worked with Harley Davidson, Bath and Beyond, or whatever it is, and US Bank, like major corporations. Like, you're a sought after person for your mind. So, I mean, when it comes to this, it's like, how does a small business owner know who to trust?
So what I would say is ask some key questions, right? So anybody you're going to work with, like my clients, there's business meetings, right? You have business meetings in advance and you have like a meet and greet and you get to know each other. Like, our philosophies on the same page? Can we actually work together and be effective together? Are we thinking enough alike synergistically? That it's possible and that it's doable. And so in those meetings, it's really important to ask some key questions. So again, be the business owner. You're a CEO of your own company, whether you're one or multiple, and you're having a conversation with another CEO, another executive. And so you ask the pivotal questions. For me, some key components would be, how long have you been doing this? What's your success rate? I come from a place with my coaching, and people know this and they sense this when I have conversations with them. I come from this place of passion and knowing what I'm talking about, and that comes from experience. And so I would ask them, what's your experience? What's your background? Right? Pivotal, key. Listen to what they have to say. And then make not all of your decisions based off of the answers to those questions, but then also, this is where I encourage people, like, intuition, whether you think it's cheesy or not, everybody knows what the F I'm talking about and you said, don't be nice, or you're going to be nice. I'm like, oh no, I want to drop some words right now on this topic. People think I just lost my train of thought. You're going to be nice.
Yeah, people perceive you as being the nice person. And you're gonna come in and be like, listen, motherfucker, here's what you gotta do.
Yeah. To a degree, but I don't know. I lost it. Sorry.
Well, let me pivot you to this point, because I mean, you've worked with a lot of different companies, small business owners, major corporations. Like, what is the trend and about the hardest thing about owning a business in general?
I'm going to take you back because I just remembered what I was going to talk about. And we were talking about the difference in coaches. And so the difference in coaches, and so the aspect of the coaching and the difference in coaches is if somebody really knows what they're doing, if somebody really has experience, you're going to feel it, you're going to sense it, you're going to know it. Intuition. This is where I said, I don't care if it sounds cheesy or not. People need to follow their intuition. That is your gut instinct, people, your gut instinct. And if you're not following your gut instinct, number one, in every situation, then that is going to come back to bite you. That's how you know. Those things, pick out your key questions, and also specific to you what your needs are. So questions are going to be generalized sometimes, but they're going to be very specific according to your needs. So dig out the information that you need to make a solid decision.
That's awesome. So, I mean, so the question I was posing again was like, what's the hardest thing with all the businesses that you've worked with? What's kind of the trend as the hardest thing about owning a business, whether it's small or big?
Whew. I would say that's a really good one. Big or small.
I would be like, for the small business owners, what I see when I consult them for marketing is that they really don't know what trajectory they're really on. They say, I have kind of an idea of where I want to go, but they're led by so many other different people, whether it's a salesperson from this company, who's trying to sell them something, right?
Yeah.
To that they really just follow the advice of salespeople versus somebody that really cares about their business and wants to help them succeed. So I think a small business owner, their problem is they don't know who to trust.
And on that point, I think that's a vital point. But on that point also, when it comes to who to trust, oftentimes big and small, it doesn't matter across the board, they're doing business with who they know. So this really falls back to your network. And so they're going to do business, like you said, trusted, but do business with who they know, whether they're big or they're small. However, sometimes that's not always, they're not always making super savvy decisions in that aspect. Sometimes it's like, hey, I'm doing business with this person, not because they're the best person or the best person for that job, but I'm doing business with this person because my brother knows them, or I'm doing business, and that happens at all levels. It doesn't matter, across the board. And so at a certain point too, that's where, like, don't be hard on yourself as a smaller independent business owner either, or even, why did this person get that contract over me? I know we bid it better. I know we are better. Don't take it personal, because it has nothing to do with how awesome you are at all. It has to do with all these other behind the scene things.
I think that big corporations, they rely on that network a little bit more than even small business owners do, because their mistakes have zeros attached to it, like many, many zeros attached to it.
Huge.
And I was a part of an organization a decade ago, maybe a little bit more than that now, but they brought in a consulting company and they spent millions and millions of dollars to have them look at everything that they were doing in the process of their company and say, here's what you're doing wrong, here's what we're going to fix it. And it totally reversed their positive trajectory to something else, because it was a friend, I'm assuming, that was friends with the CEO. And I'm guessing here. I don't know the inner workings, but from someone that was a worker, that changed the culture of the company.
Oh, huge. Yes.
And that affected millions and millions of dollars for the culture change. So I guess the other aspect of it is, when you hire a professional like you, like you're going in, you're teaching them, what to do, how to be successful, change their mindset, all that type of stuff. It's a big business owner when they have to make decisions on how's that going to affect hundreds or thousands of employees, because their rudders have to slowly turn, where a
Absolutely.
small business owner can go like this anytime they want, right?
Absolutely correct.
So that's kind of a telltale sign, is who has a great track record of working with big businesses. And if those people are willing to work with small businesses as well, that's kind of the type of person I would more gravitate towards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. 1000%.
So what I would probably say next to you is what is your background? Like, what's your work experience? What's your education? Like, what makes you the person that big business and small business kind of put it together and choose?
Yeah. So my background is primarily all experience. So when it comes to education, I don't have a formal education. I don't have a formal background per se. I was in a situation early on as a young individual where I was also a single parent, and I had my back against the wall, and it's like sit down and cry over spilt milk, or pick yourself up and get busy in life and be awesome. And so that was obviously the choice I made. I dusted myself off, and it's like, okay, where do I go from here? And I delved into corporations and companies that had amazing training programs. And so I was blessed in that aspect, that I learned a lot very quickly in a very short window of time. And that catapulted me with my knowledge far beyond often people who are much older than me, right? And so then once you do that, but then I was also very driven. So I'm like a business book, like I love reading business, right? Good business, great business, right? Jim Goodwin, one of my favorites right there. I'm dropping that. It's Good to Great. And he's done one since then, but it's amazing, amazing, amazing book. And it will teach you a ton, but again, self-educated. I was driven. I had a passion for it. And so when you have a passion for something, it's not like work. And so I self-educated massively, and I had awesome training through these crazy awesome corporations that I worked for, both mid-size and then much larger corporations that I was working with then. And so that was all knowledge to my advantage. Since then, I've had it. I mean, I also went through this period of getting to work with major, like, multi-millionaire entrepreneurs who are self-created, which is what we're talking about here, and working with a group of them. And then that catapulted me into a whole nother knowledge level, right? Way beyond anything I would have ever known if I hadn't had that experience. And so for me, it's been one of those things of experience after experience after experience, and always wanting to be the best at whatever it is that I touch and do, to the best of my ability, right? Not the best as in I want to compete with others, but I compete with myself. Like, so how do I become better? How do I gain more knowledge? How do I help more people? And what's my route for doing that, right? And loving what you do. Put those things together and forget about it.
So if I had to kind of unpack what you said there, it is your back was against the wall, and you came out freaking swinging.
Always, every time.
You did exactly, you were determined in finding the right people, finding the right companies, finding the right whatever. And every single time you kept fighting, chiseling away. And eventually you became an overnight success.
I mean, I wouldn't say overnight success, right? I mean, it was all of this work, all of this time and investment put into it. But that's what gave me the experience to be able to then go out and be able to give the knowledge to others. So that's how I came across it. And then I also, like I've done international business. And then when I was in international business, I was also blessed to go to the White House and give my business opinions. I mean, it's just been these crazy series of events, of life experiences, that as you continue to go forward, they happen, and it's part of who you become and what makes you successful. And
so how often, and this question might be a little personal, how often do you go back and look back at the single mom who was getting started?
Not often, but you took me back there today with your questions. And so that was super fun for me. And I shared that with you. Like I said, oh, Alex, like I was reading through some of your questions and I love your questions. And so I'm thankful that you had these. But yeah, I'm looking back and I'm looking through some of these questions and I'm like, wow, like I don't even stop to think about it. I
Why
haven't
is,
been forever in years. Yeah.
why is that?
Whew, because I am who I am in the here and the now. You know, I'm not like living in my past, but it was so fun to like think, holy smokes, like when you got me thinking, what has the transition of being like starting out here at the pivotal time that I did, like I said, you know, when I kind of like Geronimo'd to where I'm at in the here and now, crazy.
So if you could go back and tell your former self
Yep.
any advice,
Yep.
what would it be?
Thank heavens, the same thing that I tell myself now, and that is follow your passion. I raise my girls, follow your passion, because you don't ever get out of bed feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today, ever. And so as long as you follow your passions, that's huge, and that's vital and critical, and you have to have fun along the way. Like don't ever lose sight of that. The minute you lose the passion or you've lost the fun in chasing after your dream or your goal or what it is that you want to do, then where's the joy in it anymore? And so don't lose sight of either one of those things.
So, I mean, in your opinion, passion is obviously one of them, but outside of passion, what
Fun.
makes a truly successful entrepreneur?
Yeah. Okay. Truly successful entrepreneur outside of passion. The fun I'm still going to leave in there. I mean, you know, you have to have it. I'm sorry, but you do. Like you're not going to make it as an independent business owner if you do not have an equation about you with the ability to stop and laugh. You have to laugh along the way. You have to be able to have fun. If the fun is taken out, then it's the grind. You don't ever want it to be the grind. And so that's a key component, absolutely a key component.
I
Yeah,
find, I find that most small business owners that I work with, and just on the marketing advertising side, I mean, I deal with how to make them bigger, how to promote them, how to
yeah,
bring the perception in. And what I find are people that are solely connected to the grind or the hustle and don't have that fun element. Subconsciously, they're going to find an outlet to have that's usually destructive, whether it's excess of alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever it is, to get
yeah,
their mind away from business or away from it. You
yes,
have you have to find something healthy that
yes.
will fill that thing. Otherwise, it's going to creep out somewhere in the negative space.
Undoubtedly. And I feel like a lot of people are really feeling that intense pressure of COVID right now, right? Thrown it on top of all of that. And so don't not just let it become the grind, but some people are like, how does it not be the grind right now when and again, it's about perception. Do you feel like you're locked in your house or do you feel like you're on a vacation? Are you like, whoa, like universe, I've been asking like, oh, I just want to slow down a little bit, or why do I always have this long ass commute or whatever? People aren't thinking about that right now necessarily, right? And so yeah, don't let anything, including every single day of your life, become a grind ever, because there's like so many amazing things you could be doing. People I get on all the time, like we work remote. I'm no different than you. We work remote. But people all the time, they say to me, geez, Alieda, you're so dressed up. Like, why are you so dressed up? It could be a CEO or an executive that I'm on the phone with. They're dressed the same as you because they're working remote. But I'm working I'm working as, an entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur. I am representing like, this is who I am. Just because I'm working remote, this is who I am. When I walk into your place of business, bam, this is who I am. And it's like, I'm not going to stop being who I am just because this stuff is happening. Not only that, but I've always worked remote. So that's been, like I said, another blessing for me, but this is me.
I think that's a huge thing, is that you have to define who you are, and you really have to build your business around who you are as a person as well. Like
Yep.
when I started Prime Media Consulting, I made it a goal. I will never, ever wear a suit and tie again, except for a daddy-daughter dance. That's the only
Yes.
time I will do that. Is like I don't, because I was required to wear a suit and tie, and eventually, and I felt like that's not who I am. I'm not this. I'm more often than not a pajamas and hoodie dude, like all the time.
Don't
And
think that I don't have those in my wardrobe, because I do.
but that's the type of people, like I think if people really understood small business owners, like their personal lives a little bit more, and what drives them, and what their hobbies and passions are, that feeds into their business. Because more often than
Oh,
not, like, I want to separate my business and I want to separate my personal life. They're two totally different things.
no
No.
way.
In today's world, you have to bring them together. You want people to know, I got into planting trees, like fruit trees, and watering fruit trees, and growing a garden, like during this COVID time. So like every so often I was sharing, like, we bought a property that has grapefruits on it. I freaking hate grapefruits, right? And that's like the worst fruit I've ever tasted in my life. But I had oranges and limes and apples and grapes and pears, and none of them was growing except for grapefruits. None of them.
There you go.
But then I was like, it's amazing when you plant the seeds and you grow them, you never know what yield you're going to crop. But I found that the most times that people were interacting with me and really got to know me wasn't me showing how great of a job we brought a website from page 6 to page 1 on Google. That's just noise to them.
Yep.
But it's the conversations of sharing who I am as a person, who I am as a community member. Here's what we want to do to help build people together, or build my family, or whatever. They're drawn to that. So don't have it be one or the other. Build them together and build that bridge.
For sure. 1000%. Yeah.
So I guess the question that I would have for you is, in the past year, what have you done to increase the perception of your business?
To increase the perception of my business or the awareness of my business?
Either one.
Okay. So to increase the awareness of my business, wow, that's happened organically all on its own because COVID happened. So word of mouth, like, became big fast. I was already working with medical people, interestingly enough, medical professionals and medical businesses and companies, plural. And many of them are, independent business owners, but all in the same field. And sometimes interconnected, sometimes not, depending on the business type, in the medical profession. But for me, it went explosive, right? I mean, the first stage of COVID, I'm knee deep all of a sudden in developing strategies and systems and remote systems and all of that to take people out, keep them healthy, but keep them working immediately, first and foremost. Then it was, how do you support the people who have to stay in the field? One of the providers, for a good chunk of the organizations that I worked for, went straight into the ER and started working with people. And this is in New York. And so this is very real, very real at that time. And then it was, we're coming just out of COVID. It's kind of like you're catching your breath a little bit. And then laws and rules start to change, and regulations everywhere. And you're in the medical, right? And so I have all these medical professionals who now, we have all this stuff going on. And how do you manage it? And not just how do you manage it, but how do you hold the proper mindset, and how do you excel through it, right? How do you somehow captivate the momentum of what's happening in the world, even though perception for most is that it's negative and it's going to be horrible and it's going to kill your business? And how do you take it, and how do you soar with it? And so as they were changing laws and rules, the teams, are collaborating, and the teams had already been pre-taught by me for 3 months in large cases, to be thinking this way. Solutions. I always tell people, what's your solution? What's your solution? What's your solution? So everybody came with solutions. The whole team came rushing together with solutions. And it was that, and not fearing change, but like jumping on the winds of change and riding them, that has managed to create huge success because there was build out after build out after build out in some of these situations, and it's been phenomenal.
So I guess the question would be, and if I had to kind of just peek into your world a second, like you probably traditionally have a long sales cycle.
Yeah. No, well, no. Yeah,
But
but go ahead.
but tradition, I would assume that you have a traditionally long sales cycle, but you found a niche in the healthcare market, and because you've had experience in working with them, you built that reputation, and then more and more and more people just started kind of funneling into yours to make that sales cycle faster, because you've already proven your concept. You've already proven what you've been able to do. But traditionally, how long do people take to make that mindset change, whether you're a small business owner or a big corporation, to like, I need you?
So a sales cycle for me now at this stage could be very short. It could be like one conversation, or it could be I'm talking to somebody repetitively, over a series of a year or more. So you're talking about a cold situation, or like you don't know anybody, you're just meeting them. But even then, in a cold situation, somebody can hire you and snap you up like that. That's what most people don't realize, is every single conversation that you have, it could happen just that fast. And all of a sudden there's your big contract. And so that's what I mean by that. But typically people want to know and work with people they know that they can trust. And so that's where you're talking about that sales cycle. And so when that cycle comes into place, yeah, I mean, it could be up to a year on a huge account. Somebody doesn't know you. They might cat and mouse even back and forth. Like they already work with this person over here, and they've worked with them and they know their systems. And so it's easier to just keep making that choice. But still, there's something about, they still kind of want to make change, and they don't, they feel like they can get to the next level, but are they going to make that leap of that change? That is that sales cycle you're talking about, where you're having to reconnect or touch base, and it slowly evolves, right? And the trust is there, and then they make that leap. Oftentimes, though, it depends on who you're talking to. Somebody is in need, they have the need, they made the commitment, they've made the decision, they're dedicated to this change, and they're doing it, or hiring this person and doing this thing. And it could be one conversation you have. And that holds true for anyone. So, I just think that's important to always keep in mind when you're talking to people.
I think if I had to ask you this question, I'm going to ask you two ways. One, what do you feel are your top 3 strengths of being in your industry or being who you are? And then what do you think are the 3 top strengths of people that you need to either coach up or that they have naturally when being an entrepreneur?
Okay, let's take that in 2 separate chunks. So the first one is me, right? And so what are the 3 key strengths that I have that whatever make me this
Make you
badass beast of a coach that I am? Yes. So keeping it real. So for me, it's always real. Number 2 is that I am not afraid to talk to anybody like I'm talking to you. And I have these conversations all day long. And this is how I work with my clients. My clients really like that I keep things, real. I have an element of being very direct, and that works well with some clientele and not others. So I will tell you, this is like a work on for me that I've identified, because I have a tendency to be like, boot camp right now, here's your protocol, get busy, like dig in, while I'm motivating you every step of the way. But by the same token, sometimes you need to have a little more grace. And what I mean by that is that vulnerable piece that you're talking about. People need to you need to not be afraid to be vulnerable, both directions, when you're working with a coach. And so in order for people to feel like they can convey or even share, and sometimes this is really personal, like I'm in this really kind of shitty place, or things aren't so great right now, or whatever. And I've had clients come and bare their soul to me, and there was the need to have to do that, because I wouldn't be able to help them to the degree that I have managed to help them had they had not done that as well. But it is an element of grace in the communication style that allows people to feel like they can do that. And so for me, that's kind of like a work on, right, per se. But that for me is keeping it real. Like I I know my shortcomings and I'm always working on them. So this is the difference. Other difference between me, I feel like, and the majority of coaches out there, I live what I teach. So I'm not teaching anything that I have not yet myself experienced and know to be true. If I haven't had those elements, I'm not going to try to teach you anything. And so I always come from that place, which I think is a strength. For me, I feel like that's a strength. Now, it's strength of my clients, right? Key strengths, kind of like unanimously, like what are some key components that I find typically they have? Typically, they have this drive to succeed. Typically, they are ambitious. Typically, they know that they can do this. They feel that they should be doing this. They want to do this. And sometimes they're just hitting this roadblock or this challenge, right? They're having this obstacle and they don't know why or how to get around it. So you have to have that. And that's the same whether it's at this level or a CEO of a corporation, a huge corporation, whatever, it doesn't matter. So the drive and the ambition, the focus, or at least the vision, the dream of knowing that this is possible and that they're not going to stop until they get it. So having to have a hold on something like that and that commitment of not letting it go. So committed. So they're driven, they're committed, they're all in. And I would say the other core component is that you have to be able to kind of face your own shit. Like, this is real work. It's real work. It's not la. It's not like, I'm not like, hey, come here, let me hold your hand. Let me walk you through this. It's going to be okay. That is not, that to me is not a coach. Coach is the word of the coach, right? It's like you get on the playing field, like you get ready to get busy, you get ready to learn some plays, you are serious about your strategy. So you have to have an element of being serious and being ready, like that whole committed piece times 10.
I watched a David Goggins video one time, and he's like, everyone loves the person that says, it's okay, you don't have to work out today. Just go eat a pizza, hang out, let's watch the game. Let's go do this. Everyone loves that guy. No one loves the guy that says, no, motherfucker, let's go at like 3 a.m. Let's go work out. Let's go hit the gym. Let's go get this. They love the gray. They love the just hang out and just be mediocre and all that. No one really likes the person that says, this is what we're doing. We've committed to this. We're going to hit this. We're going to burn the boats. We're going to just go and just make it happen.
Yep.
It's very hard for that burn the boat guy to be liked very often, because you know they're doing the right thing, but you don't like that, right? You want the guy that's like, let's go chill, have a pizza. They're more fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there is an element to that, right? It depends on the personality type, but yes, there are a lot of people who are like that. But you're asking me, what are the key components of the people who I find are going to be successful? So the key components I find of the people who are going to be successful are going to want the coach. They want a real coach who's going to kick their ass into never land if necessary. That's why they're hiring them, because they want to be at the next level. They're sick and
tired of being sick and tired.
They're ready. They have their game face on.
So what are the I always said the top 3 strengths. So now what is the bottom 3 strengths that you feel like you constantly have to work on people when I'm guessing most of your work is when you're in the discovery phase of trying to get to know them, right? You're trying to figure out what their buttons are. They don't really share too easily their downsides. You have to uncover those for the most part. What do you feel are the areas of opportunity that most small business owners need to become successful?
So I'm going to go with their top 3. What are their typical top 3 obstacles or challenges that they're faced with the most on an overall whole? So one is self-confidence, undoubtedly. Feeling your worth, knowing that you're worth what you're asking oftentimes, right? That can be a very big challenge for people across all spectrums again, but typically kind of when you're sitting in this seat, especially if you're like in startup phase, right? And even if you're not in startup phase, this is like literally at any stage, this can kind of come and like smack you in the face. And so that, because you're going to hit a limitation at a certain point because of that at some point in the road. And sometimes you'll hit it more than once. Sometimes you might think, oh, I overcame that. And then boom, here it is again. But it takes kind of somebody, to your point, of being able to, sometimes you don't see your own shit, so to speak, right? And so when you're in it, you can't necessarily see it. This is where you talked about, whoa, you can bring in like an aerial view. And yeah, oftentimes it's like seeing it from up here and being able to see a person's maze and being able to help guide them out, and right where they're in it and they can't see it. And so, so I would say that's number one, is just like knowing your worth and knowing and being self-confident in that. The number two is build your network. Oftentimes I feel like people go into this and they don't realize really how important it is to have a good solid network, a network of people who are going to be able to tell more people and talk to more people and introduce you to more people. And you're only as good as your network, is what they say at very high levels in business. And it's 1000% true. Build your network. I would say is number two. The third is being fully committed. Like, are they or are they not fully committed? Like that's a defining moment, and it's an obstacle. Oftentimes too, people don't think about how much it costs to start a business. They don't truly understand how much time commitment, which is a cost. It's the one that you can't ever get back, right? It's an investment of your life that you're investing, how much that's going to take, and also finances, both. And so like, yeah.
If I had to expand on some of the things you said, is like, I have the blessing in my business of being the B2B guy. So I don't have to worry about customer mentality. I can be a lightning rod for business owners. So when I have the person that's like, in my local community, like, oh, Bob's Plumbing or whatever, they were too expensive, they were all this type of stuff. I have the fortune of being the guy that says, you pay for experience, you pay for their knowledge, that's what you're paying for. It doesn't matter what the price is, that's what you're paying for. Someone can set whatever price, whatever value they want, you're this. So I can be the guy that's the rallying cry for the business owner of saying, being on their back. And that's why business owners tend to like what I do, is because I can be their voice without them having to be the person that says it, because they have to be the person like, oh, Mr. Customer, whatever it is, right? So there's that perception. But what I get as my flack is, and I know my shit, right? As we said before, is because I'm a black and white person, I'm very focused. I don't know when I screw up, right? So I say to everyone, I say, if I say something or do something that tweaks you or irks you a little bit, let me know, because I honestly don't know what I'm doing. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing here. And the hard part for people is to have, in my world, is to be that person that says, hey, what you said kind of did upset me, or what you said, or did, like, I'd like to see something done. I like what you're doing, but can we be done a different way? Like, for me, it's just this. And a lot of people have a hard time having that conversation with somebody because they don't know how truthful it is. So what I'm learning, and my area of opportunity of this year, was I'm trying to be more empathetic. I'm trying to build that bridge of like, okay, here, I believe I'm doing what I think is best for me here, but I need to also be cognizant of the totality of other things. Does that make sense?
For sure.
So I'm trying in my world to kind of build that. And that's why we talked about, I need the ping pong person where I'm the laser focused, and the ping pong person needs the laser focused person. You need those people. You need that yin for your yang. Absolutely. And that's why they hire people like you, is because you're that yin for a lot of their yangs, and you can kind of direct them to like, hey, here's this situation. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? And that's what's great about what you do, is you kind of connect the dots for the people that still have all the lines not filled in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the next part is, can you name a person who's had a tremendous impact on you as a leader or as a business owner?
Yes. So I told you I worked for that entire group of private entrepreneurs who are extremely, wealthy by most people's definition of the word and beyond in some cases. Um, and so all of them, like that whole period in time, like all of them were hugely, hugely, hugely pivotal for me. I want to kind of take back what I believe is one of the most valuable things I learned while I was in that pivotal time of working with all these awesome people is exactly what you were talking about. You said, I come back and like I can tell people though, like I offer you quality, like I offer you this, here's my background, here's my experience, here's what I can give to you. One of the number one things that group of entrepreneurs always had as a rule of thumb is you always hire the best that you can afford in any situation because they will always save you money in the long run. So this person over here that you could hire for, maybe a lot less, also a lot less experienced oftentimes, and they're going to be learning as they go on your dime. And then you're going to have to go back later because then you're going to come back to this person who is going to charge you X, and you're going to have to say, oh, oops, can you please fix this? Right?
I'll tell you, in my world, my mindset is whenever someone tells me no, I find another company in their industry. I say, we're going to go after it. And nothing makes it better than to prop somebody else up when that other person in that same category, in that same region said no to you.
You help the competitor.
Oh, absolutely. I will help the competitor fight to the ends of the earth with them to show that person that said no to me, I should have gone with me. Because you're exactly right. I may be more expensive than somebody else, but I don't lose.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that's the mindset most business owners are afraid to have, is to be like, I refuse to lose. I will do everything I possibly can to win in anything I do. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's 10 hours a day, 15 hours a day, 20 hours a day. I'll fight and hustle to make it happen. Because as someone said this before, I'm a dripping damn faucet. I will keep dripping. And that's what most business owners' mentality has always been. I'm afraid to cause waves. I'm going to part the seas like Moses. I'm going to make
like, coming in.
Right. You're going to love me or hate me. Someone told me I'm proficient in ruffling feathers. And I'm like, that's awesome. Thank you. Because as business owners,
you're like, I'm making an impact.
You're talking about me, right? Whether you like them, hate them, whatever, and we're not going to get into politics. But the thing about Donald Trump is that people focused on him, love him, hate him, focused. And you can take something from that. If they're loving your brand, they're on you. If they're listening to your brand, they're on you. If they don't like your brand, they're still listening to you.
Right. They're still on you. They're like one of your biggest fan clubs.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for being a fan. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Talk about me. Great. Love it.
Yes.
Because if you're not talking about me, you're talking about somebody else. I'd rather you talk about me and help me build.
That's 100,000% true. And so to your point, don't be afraid of the like people who are going to be your biggest critics, right? Who are going to like boo you off the stage or whatever the case may be. And that's a very valid point because it happens. And, some people say, refer to them as haters, whatever. Right. But it's very valid. I've had that happen with some of my articles that have just gone viral overnight because people have commented on them. And I, as an author, will always come back and either try to explain myself or validate something that I'm trying to express. Or if I feel like it's correct, then yes, your analysis is correct, however, or whatever, right? But there's always this dialogue that's taking place. That entire dialogue eventually just leads to things going berserko. So as a marketing person, you understand that, but I think that your marketing background and bringing that to people's attention right now is like a saving grace for them. You cannot be afraid of the naysayers.
And
not only that, but I'll take the naysayers and I'll make them your biggest asset.
Yeah. I mean, hate on me all day. I don't care. Like that's the great thing about what I do is that if you can do it correctly, like as long as you're proving results, that's the main thing. It's the people that can't prove results and have the mouth. That's the issue. But But what was interesting is, and this is kind of getting off topic a little bit for the lovely people that watch this, they know in the Chicagoland area, we launched this association for small business owners. The idea is you have to be licensed and insured to be part of it. It's a club, basically. We're building a club,
Oh,
and and you can only be part of it if you're licensed and insured. And then we're kind of building a back end support to that, where you get buying purchase power of, like, we sourced printing discounts or promotional discounts or marketing discounts or all that type of stuff. Basically building like an Amazon Prime model
yeah.
for business owners to kind of come together and crowdsource their solutions this way, right?
This is fantastic. And most people, like a lot of people will call that also like a co-op,
Right.
right? A group
Yeah,
of independents coming together as a co-op, and all of a sudden you've got the power that you didn't have before in multiple ways.
exactly. And what we found is the other establishments that are used for memberships and other different things really didn't like the idea, because you're going after their money. And
Mhm.
it's so funny that you don't become, and I don't know if you agree to this or not, but like you're nobody on someone's radar, whether you're a plumbing company, an HVAC company, a baker, or whatever, until you impact a competitor's pocketbook. And that's when you know that you're really becoming something, is that you're impacting somebody else. And what's hard is a small business owner, when they start growing and they start building their brand up, there's going to be a point where you're going to have the detractors hit you down, right? Try and club you back down to where you belong, because they want the attention back. And they probably go to someone like you to be like, how do I stop this noise? Or how do I repair the ship? Or how do I block out that, so I can keep building what I'm doing? Have you experienced that in the past?
For sure. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So what do you say to someone like that?
So what I say to them is, what are your strengths, right? I take them through essentially the same thing that you did with the competitor across the street. I take them through, what are your strengths and what are your assets? And so let me give you an example. You can, like, I walk in, I take a look at a property and assets, and I have management saying, like there's huge complexes involved, right? And so this is a great analogy. And I come in and the manager is saying, oh, boo-hoo, we've got a new complex here. We've got new complexes there. We've got all this new stuff. The gyms are open 24 hours, whatever. But I sit here and I have, an old asset. It's 15 years old. And the mindset is automatically, you need to swap to, but what do you have? And sell the shit out of what you do have. So what is it that you do have that everybody around you, even though they're the latest and greatest, doesn't have? Oh, well, I have larger floor plans because it's an older asset, right? And they built the units bigger then. I have a clientele that I know on a first name basis. There's no way they know theirs on a first name basis. I have the ability to screen everybody who comes through my doors and have top quality individuals who are renting here that, I can give them a clause in their lease and they can get out of their unit and they can go buy a home. And you build on that and create your own personal niche. And all of a sudden, all the stuff that was not your asset is suddenly your asset, and you're catapulting, and now you're competing.
So I guess the next question would be is that, as your business has grown, right? You realized yourself that you can't scale by doing everything yourself. You're going to have to outsource some things, right? You're not proficient. Maybe you're proficient in marketing and branding yourself, but you're not proficient in the operation side, or you're really good at the operation side, but you really hate selling. So outsourcing is something that, especially in the COVID world, we've all kind of adapted to. Where can I thin the margins out or expand my margins out to make the business function better? So can you tell me an example of like how you might have outsourced a certain aspect of your business to really propel you for growth?
Yeah. IT big time when it came into COVID. Right? I mean, who is not on that bandwagon? If they're not, or they didn't get on it, or didn't realize the need for being able to have your entire back end and all your systems and your operations and having the right people on board. If you didn't, and or maybe even if you did, now all of a sudden you have the need for more or higher understanding of, how to function in a remote world. That I would say is like a catapulting, pivotal, recent one that I've dealt with and encountered. And so outsourcing, not just outsourcing, but really outsourcing the right people. Again, that goes back to that advice that, I handed out from those wealthy individuals from years ago. And that is, always hire the best that you can afford, because you're going to need them. And if you have the need, then that's what you go for, is top quality. They'll save you money in the long run. And that's 1000% true every single time. Yeah, outsourcing, it's vital right now.
My example is, one, I used to love building websites myself, like love doing it. But now we have such an influx of people, I can't do it myself. I need to find quality people that can scale, so I can focus on this aspect and do this. Then I figured out, okay, so that's some website aspect of it. I'll do the SEO because that's what I love doing, and I feel passionate about doing the things I love doing myself, right? The outsourcing for me also is operations. I hate my books. I hate doing the finances, all that. That's not me. That's not my brain, right?
1000%. Yeah.
So,
Again,
I went to the accountant route and do that. And then I realized that there are some things I didn't like about accounting, that company, right? And then I found the cheap bookkeeper, right? Because, why not save some money? If I can go to the cheap bookkeeper, charges me $100 a month, and then I realize, oh, they're not really doing anything for me. It's just me just kind of giving them $100 a month. And then I go to I find a new one where it's like, it's a breath of fresh air. You find the right people. If you find the right people, now this person,
so harmonious, is it not?
It's beautiful, because I can say, like, they're proactive. They say, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's an email today of all the things that we've accomplished. Here's what you need to do now. Like, that's what's been nice, is to see, to your point of hiring the right people to facilitate the job. May cost you a little bit more, and we all don't like to really spend more if we don't have to. But as you've notated, right, you have to spend money for the right people.
Oh, huge. It's huge, 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 huge. It'll save you in time and money all day long, every day, for as long as you have them. Yep.
So what do you feel is the biggest parallel between small business and big business? Because you've worked with both.
The biggest parallel, I would say, gosh.
I would assume they're kind of the same.
The owners, it doesn't matter if it's here or if it's here. The owner completely impacts the business 1000%. And so whatever is happening with that owner is what's happening in their business. And sometimes, and doesn't mean that it's going to impede your ability to grow, because oftentimes you can grow and you can be a huge conglomerate, but everything trickles down from the top, right? And so you as an owner forever and endlessly always impact everything and anything that's happening within your organization, good or bad. And so again, that's kind of like, having to, sometimes in order to grow as a business owner, you have to grow as a person too, right? Like you're saying, or for me, like I tossed up earlier, like, hey, I realize I have this need for sometimes communicating with more grace, right? And that's a real need. And I'm realizing that. But at first I didn't really realize that so much. Now that I'm dealing with so many people, and I feel like also it's really important for people to be able to feel like they can be vulnerable with whoever they're working with right now. Keeping it real, again, at that very raw level. It's the need has popped up 1,000 times over. And I'm like, I really need to get my stuff together with this. And so you're always like, you need to always be willing to step out of that place of your own stuff and realize, if I'm going to grow and be able to help more people, then I have to change this within myself.
What's the one, I mean, it's hard to bring it down to one, right? But what's the one mistake that you witness other business owners making more frequently than others?
What's the one mistake that you
see most business owners making?
Okay, the biggest mistake that I see most business owners making, it's really a lot of it is the stuff that we've already covered on the playing field. Number one, not understanding the cash flow and what it takes to do a launch or be in it. The fact that you're going to have the time, dedication, and commitment that you have to invest in. That's huge. We talked about the ability to continue to have fun. You know, all of those things have a tendency to get lost along the way and or are just not understood up front.
Sorry,
Okay.
we talked a little bit about the, diving in personal and business to kind of together at some point too, right? So
Yep.
what are some of your like non-work highlights that like you try and sprinkle in for people to get to know you a little bit more?
Non-work highlights. For people to get to know me a little bit more. You mean like hobbies? What do I do in my
Sure.
personal
What's your
time?
hobby?
Are we gonna roll with that? Or do you want to say like that I trinkle in as far as like tidbits, like things I let people know about me?
Let's do both. Why not?
Okay. They kind of both go hand in hand. So like for me, I'm a big nature person, right? And so and I'm also big on balance, and it's one of the things that I teach and I coach. So a big chunk of my personal life is spent out in nature. That's balancing for me. It's part of my physical routine. It's part of my mental routine and my getting my head in the right space for like my game on days. And it's also a part of my meditation and prayer, whatever you want to call it, right? Space. And it's kind of like all three rolled into one. And so when I let people into visuals on that time, or what that time is like for me when I'm out and I'm doing these things, then it is letting them into my personal world on every level, right? On every level of how I hold my balance and what I would recommend for others. And so, yeah, for me, I would say that's that piece.
When I about 2 years ago, I think it was now, I took my daughter to a daddy-daughter camp. It's just
Yeah.
something that was just the two of us, no internet, no computer. My wife maybe forced me to go to a place where like I had to plug out,
You
right?
were probably just freaking out.
Oh, I was. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So but it was good because after I got done with my addiction of like, where's my phone, right?
Yep.
Um, we had this time where it was a church camp, so like we had some time, some prayer, and we had the girls go one way and the guys talked, and then there's a time where you just sit there and you reflect on this stuff and you read about a topic and things like that. And I was sitting by this river in Michigan. It was in the northern Michigan, and I reflected. I think that was the first time in probably 15 years that I had an hour to myself that I wasn't doing
Oh,
something.
wow. Isn't that crazy amazing?
It's like because as business owners, you're buried in your work, you're buried in the sand, you're out there shaking hands, kissing babies, all the other different things out there. You're doing your thing, trying to grow your business. How often do you find moments for yourself? And so what's kind of cool that you said, like you try and find moments for yourself.
All the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. You're right. People get grotesquely out of balance in that aspect. And I'm talking way out of whack.
Yeah.
And workaholic can be an addiction just like anything else, even though it feels good because it's a passion and you're so driven. I know personally, like firsthand, I know this one. And so yeah, I mean the balance piece though is vital because you will eventually get to a place to where you'll crash and burn, or you will have been going so hardcore, so full throttle that you don't even understand what balance is like anymore. You don't even know that way of life. The other reason why I absolutely require it for my clients though is because it creates more efficiency. You actually come back and you actually have more mental power. It's been scientifically proven over and over and over again. You have way more mental power. You can get way more done in a shorter period of time, and you will do it at a much higher mental level than you ever would have if you just continue to plummet yourself into the ground and just continue to drive it. If you didn't stop and you didn't go take a break and a timeout and have some fun and do some things physically, things that make you feel good, quiet time, even to your point, just holy smokes, I sat and it was silent for an hour. If you're not doing that, then you're not running optimum. You're half-assed at best. Newsflash.
That's awesome. So I got two more questions for you because I know your time. I know your time is limited. You're a very busy person, and I appreciate the time that you've afforded us to have this conversation. So the last two questions are: what are some resources that you think new or struggling business owners should look at to gain insight on becoming a better business owner? I know you mentioned good to great, but is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, stay on top of your field. Like you always should have a desire to have your A game on. So like I mentioned Forbes magazine and I mentioned grabbing, Marshall Goldsmith's, information off the cover page in that article. To me, that was, these are the people who are in the top of the profession right now that I'm in. And that's what you should be doing, is like learning more about who is it that you believe is the best of the best. Like if you're gonna do it, then goal to be in that same arena as the best of the best.
That's awesome. And then the final question is, for your business, what are you most proud of in your business?
That's a really good question.
I only ask good questions.
I know you do have good questions. I'll give it to you. The fact that I get to help the masses, and I don't need that to sound cheesy, and I don't mean that to sound cheesy. Literally, I love the fact that if it's even one conversation that I have that changes somebody's world or universe in a positive way, I know the ripple effect that has the potential to have. And I know that for a fact because many of the people I've coached now young, many of them young, right? And often in times I'll do, I'll see potential in a person, and that's my pro bono work. And I will say, if you really want to create change in your life, or there's something that you really want to do differently, then I will coach you, but you will not take this for granted for 1 second, and you will do everything that I say to you. And they are committed and they want change so badly that they do it. And then you see those people go out and repeat the words of the things that they've learned and that they've put and implemented in their lives. And now they're touching other people. And it's a ripple effect. And when you can see that happen, it's crazy awesome.
Awesome. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of share who you are one more time, how people that might watch this can reach out to you to kind of learn more about you and maybe get started learning from you. Can you tell us a little bit how they can do that?
Sure. So I'd say the number one way is my website, and that is at www.askaileda.com. And that's a little bit confusing. So I would say maybe we can give them a piece of information that they can cling to that will get them where they need to go, because the spelling of my name is a little unusual. And you probably would have recommended against that in marketing world, but I was like, I am my brand. This is what they get with my services. They get this. And so there's that aspect of things. I would say people, you can contact me. All of my contact information's on there, email. Oftentimes after I've had a conversation or consult, I give a free 1 hour consult to, or most individuals, or maybe it's 30 minutes. I don't know even what my site says anymore. It's been a long time since I've looked at it, but yes, there's consult options on there. And I would say seize the opportunity, because if there's an opening on my calendar, then I'm happy to always have a 30-minute conversation with anyone and help them in any way that I can.
Right. That's amazing. So I wanted to, we're definitely going to have your phone number, your email address, all that type of stuff, your website right on there on the screen for people to be able to contact you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate the conversation. Check us out next week as we talk to another business owner and we dive into even more BS and Business Spotlight as we share their journey. What did they do to kind of become the overnight sensation that took years for them to develop? So thank you so much for your time, and
Thanks.
have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.